And I wanted to ask you, often actors tell us that makeup aids them in inhabiting their characters. You don't use any makeup, yet you have created some of the best digital or non-human characters on the screen without any makeup. I mean, I saw you on set wearing this latex suit. How do you do that?
It is a very pure form of acting in the sense that you don't get that assistance. You have to use your imagination and you embody the character and trust the great artists that you're going to be working with further down the line. And that's also comes from the great understanding of the director. If I were to now put on prosthetic makeup and play this character, people would have a much easier time understanding how it was achieved, and I could play the emotions of the character in exactly the same way, except I would be fighting with a layer of makeup and covering my face. So I don't think the intention and the truth of the performance would come through as much as it does using this technology, which is very subtle, very nuanced, and also the artistic team is not painting on makeup before. The artistic team is painting on makeup, if you like, afterwards, because the director sits with the cut of the movie, with the actor's performance, purely just the actor's performance, for nearly a year before they start to see the visual effects shots coming in, whilst the CG artists are very carefully taking the acting performance and creating the look of the character and translating the human physiognomy onto an ape's face. So it's in terms of the actual acting of it, there is no difference, and so it always is a mystery to me why people don't understand it now after all these years. But I do actually think people are, certainly the younger generation are understanding of it.
Now, when you look at the characters you play, we end up empathizing with all your characters. Of course, the empathy is subconscious. Is it because you give them human emotions, what you exude, or it's the story that brings us in?
I think that's a really good question. I mean, the anthropomorphization of characters has been going on for many years in cartoons, in all sorts of abstract forms. But this way of working, where you can see the eyes, the human physiognomy, or the soul of the character coming through, it's a relatively new technology. Performance capture really has only been around for 18 years or so, meaningfully. But I think it's that, and for me as an actor, why I love working in this medium is because you can't be vain. You can't want to see your face up on the screen. But that's not why I became an actor. I became an actor to portray characters fully and to lose myself and bury myself in a character. And even when I started off as a theatre actor, that was what I did. So, through physicality, through emotion, through embodying the character. So I think that's, again, one of the great things about this technology is that there's a purity about it that allows you to go to those places, and it's the tension between the digital mask and the underlying performance that makes it powerful.
Well, evidently you are a big fan of it and you're promoting it, but you fell into it. You're a traditional actor.
Yeah.
And now you're creating a new kind of filmmaking with your production Imaginarium. Are you making movies only with motion capture, or are you just shifting now from traditional acting to this new form of acting? And what do you gain out of it more than traditional acting?
No, I mean, actually, in actual fact, with the Imaginarium, we're looking at all different sorts of storytelling with the idea, what will happen in 20 years' time? How will stories be received by audiences? It's all down to the script. We have a production company and a performance capture facility, and they work together. So, for instance, Jungle Book that I'm working on, or in the future we're going to be making Animal Farm. It's finding the right material and the right story and the right characters that, we don't just want to make performance capture movies, but if the story dictates, then of course we will.
But the industry is still struggling to accept it, and in spite of the campaigns, the Academy still refuses to accept it as a form of art like acting. What is your take on it?
I think it's really old-fashioned. I think it's really outdated, and I think they need to really examine what's going on, because, I mean, this film clearly demonstrates, there is a version of this film which is purely the performance, and there are cuts of Jungle Book that I've directed where you're just seeing the actor's performance is just that, and you're totally carried by that, and the same, that. So it's. Obviously, it's an incredible marriage of and the way it's presented, the characters are presented finally and manifested on screen, is a wonderful team of artists doing that. But as I was saying earlier, that would not exist. It's a very different process to an animation process where a committee of animators are taking responsibility for authoring the role. The authorship of the role purely lies with the actor in the case of these films and other films like this.
I want to ask you something about your background. Your father is an Iraqi Armenian. How much does your background, his background, affects or seeps into your art?
That's a really great question. Well, my father, who's passed now sadly, but he was, he was a doctor, and he lived in Iraq, and he very much he created a hospital in Baghdad, and so I was always full of admiration for the fact that he was setting up a hospital for the people who couldn't afford to go to hospital, for the people of Baghdad, so he was and what he did was he had to spend a lot of time away from his family to do that. So I respect that, and I know that when I've spent a long periods of time on the other side of the world away from my family, and it's a very difficult thing to do, but when you're passionate about what you do and you have the people around you who believe in you, then your partner, your family, like my father, he was a real inspiration to me, and hopefully I will be to my children. So it's certainly rubbed off me in that way.
Do you speak any Arabic?
Right. I mean, only kitchen Arabic. I was taught a little bit when I was a child, but I can count to 10. That's all.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Cheers, man.